All right. I think this is a great time to start now. For those of you who came in a little bit later, my name is Mara Johnson. I use she, they pronouns. I'm an admission counselor here at PLU. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the IHON You Ask We Answer Info webinar. Um, Today we have some wonderful panelists joining us from the International Honors Program, Dr. Dowlin, Madeline, and Jeremiah. And the three of them are going to be introducing themselves as well. So Madeline, would you like to start it off, introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Madeline Crosby. I'm a first year here at PLU. I'm an earth science major. I'm from Colorado, so out of state student. On campus, I'm involved in Ultimate Frisbee. I also work on campus. So those are two great activities. If you need anything to do on campus, I recommend both. Um, and the main reason I chose IHON is that I'm really interested in the creative arts, but also science, hence why I'm an earth science major. And IHON just seemed like a very good bridge between those things to make sure that I was still being creative while also, being able to do my major. Yeah.
I'm Jeremiah Ruiz. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a first year and an elementary education major. I um, I work on campus. I'm a tour guide, and I also participate in the university concert band, which is really fun. So if you like playing an instrument, it's a one credit thing. It's really easy to do, and even if you don't, I mean, it's a good skill to have. And I chose IHON just because the idea of connecting art and literature and science into one big picture while also looking at them separately is just it's a great thing to do. It's really exciting.
My name is Seth Dowland. This is my 15th year at PLU, third year as director of the IHON program. Um, my field of expertise is religion, study of American religion in particular. But I chose IHON, and I'm excited to be directing this program because the IHON classroom is a space where we really do kind of embody all of us learning together, professors and students, reading texts and talking about them in a really democratic kind of space where everybody's voice is valued, and we really, I think, structure the classroom in such a way that students feel empowered to kind of bring their whole selves to the classroom. So it's a real gift, I think, to teach in the program and to direct the program. So those are some of my reasons for choosing IHON. I think, should I just go straight into my presentation?
I think that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I have a few slides that I will talk through, and I encourage you, as questions occur to you, to just put them in the Q&A. We'll save them there and have a chance to talk about your questions at the end of my presentation. The first thing I always start with, because honors programs take different shapes at different universities, the way our honors program is structured at PLU is as an alternative to the traditional general education requirements. So students, all PLU students have general education requirements designed to give you a breadth of kind of areas of study that we think are part of what it means to have a liberal arts education. If you apply for and enroll in IHON, it exempts you from most of the regular general education requirements. And in place of those, you take 7 courses that are designed specifically for IHON students. Starting in the first year, we have required courses in the fall and the spring, as well as an optional course in our January term that introduce you to the program and the type of learning that we do in the program. And then beginning in your second year, you can take various elective courses at the 200 level that generally are focused around a particular topic rather than focused on a particular discipline. So rather than taking a class in literature, you might take a class around, say, for instance, we have one IHON course that's designed to focus just on the year 1968, and it brings various disciplinary perspectives to bear on the study of this pivotal year. And we have another course on labor and the role of work in society. And so just a variety of courses. And then at the 300 level, we have a course called Exploring Justice and another one called Public Thinking that will finish out your IHON requirements. And it's a scaffolded program that is designed, as you can see on the slide, to increase your skills as a thinker, as somebody who can participate in intellectual conversations, as a writer, and as a global citizen. So this is a very intentionally designed curriculum that we find students really developing skills that are complementary to lots of different majors. When students ask, is IHON for me? At the first level, I want to note that we have students from 26 different PLU majors in our first year cohort this year. That's out of about 55 students, so a wide variety of majors represented in the program, and a wide variety of kind of high school preparation. You don't have to have taken advanced placement or international baccalaureate classes or running start classes. Certainly we have students who've done courses like that in high school, but we have specifically designed IHON to be accessible to students of all majors and of all different high school preparations. What I think really distinguishes our program against the regular general education program is a focus on smaller class sizes, more discussion-based classes, less testing, probably more reading. And so I think assessing what kind of learner you are is part of the question that I encourage students considering IHON to consider. We do ask that you come to class ready to discuss what we've read together, and it is, I think, a way of building connections in the classroom. So rather than having a lecture just kind of talk at you, you come into IHON expecting to be part of the conversation, and that helps to build a cohort with other IHON students that you kind of progress through the program with, and so it's a relational program as well. IHON has been in its kind of current form at PLU for actually almost 20 years now, and as I've already noted, it is, I think, available to you regardless of what type of high school background you have. And it's also a program that is really designed at getting you to think for yourself. One of our common metaphors that we use in first year IHON courses is how you have to put your oar into the conversation, just like a rower puts their oar into the water. You have to kind of be prepared to enter an ongoing conversation that's been going on for thousands of years. When we think about these very ancient texts that we read, we want you to kind of come to these texts with curiosity and be prepared to talk about them with your classmates and with your professor. And I think Madeline, I shared these bullets with Madeline and Jeremiah. Madeline wanted to speak a little to this second bullet point.
Yeah, so kind of going off what Professor Dowland already said, IHON structurally, like as a class, is very free and it's very open for students to learn how they want and to do what they want. So for example, we don't have like formal essays or tests. We have provisional conclusions instead, which is essentially like you sit for 20 minutes and you write about pretty much whatever. So you can take anything that you find in these texts that you think is interesting and write about it, whether whether your professor tells you to or not. It's really just what you want to talk about. And one thing that I really appreciate about the IHON program is that there's no right or wrong answer. That's something that we learn very early on. And our professors uphold that very well. I think you can, discussions are always very open. You can say pretty much whatever as long as you're being respectful of the people in the space that you're in. And so that's something that I think really that IHON really speaks to, is just that you can express any ideas openly. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. Yeah. And then, some other characteristics of our program. As I've already noted, we have a number of different majors in the program. You can see the biggest groups of majors in our program right now. Nursing, business, biology, communications, global studies, and psychology are the biggest majors represented in our IHON cohort. So that kind of spans the gamut of programs that are offered at PLU. And we also, I think, we are interested in pursuing answers to enduring human questions in a variety of cultural settings. The international in our program, the International Honors Program, reflects that we believe you can't be confined to, a particular country or set of countries. You need to really look at variety of cultures around the globe to see how different groups of humans have approached questions of justice and politics and goodness. And it's in that kind of cross-cultural study that we really find complexity in kind of these enduring human questions. And Jeremiah, I think you wanted to speak to actually both of these last two.
Yeah, so like as an education major, my last 2 years of college here are going to be pretty rigorous. So, but IHON works really well with that. So, and I know nursing is very similar in that same way where it feels like there's not a lot of wiggle room in that, but I think IHON does a great job at meshing with what you have and building on that. And then in like the various cultures and histories portion, I think that there's no real way that words could describe how beneficial that is. A lot of times in high school or prior to college, you get a lot of information that's really specific to the U.S. or even just your state. Like specifically from Texas, I know a lot of people in Texas only care about Texas, and getting views from not just outside of my state but outside of the country have opened my eyes to a lot of like awakenings, both academically and personally.
Great, thanks, Jeremiah. So another feature of our program that I think appeals to a number of students is our study away program in Oxford in England. This is a program that we offer 3 times a year, fall term, January, and then in the spring. And it was designed with IHON students in mind. Specifically, students who study away in Oxford earn credit towards the IHON program. Usually 2 classes out of the required 7 IHON classes are satisfied by the study away program in Oxford, as well as most students who study in Oxford earn credit toward their major. So it's a program that fits really well with IHON students who typically have busy graduation plans. This kind of keeps them on track for graduation. And it's also the semester programs in the fall and the spring are covered by your comprehensive fee at PLU. And so it doesn't cost any additional money in the fall and spring to study in Oxford than it would to study at PLU. You can see on the slide what that covers. There's a flight credit, your housing in Oxford, your tuition, and a meal stipend, as well as some other things. Students who study away in Oxford live in apartments that we rent, and they are lovely. They're right on the canal, and a PLU faculty member accompanies every group that goes to Oxford. The faculty member teaches a seminar that is a place-based seminar focused on Oxford or on the UK, and you take that course with a PLU faculty member at the beginning of your time in Oxford. Usually it's about 6 weeks. And then for the remainder of the semester, you do the one-on-one tutorials in your field of study, whatever major program you're in. We arrange tutorials with Oxford-based scholars, whether that's faculty or advanced graduate students in Oxford. And it's a real rich academic experience for our students who get to study in the oldest university in the English-speaking world. About half of IHON students do study away in Oxford at some point during their time at PLU. It is a popular program, but one that we've been able to make accessible because we run it every semester to virtually all students who are interested in going to Oxford. And I know Madeline and Jeremiah have both expressed their interest in going, hopefully next year. And so it is a real exciting program. Just some images from Oxford. These are PLU students who participated in the program in the past. I had the privilege of leading the program in January term of 2024, and you can see me leading a class there in the University Church in Oxford. In fact, we were reading that day about Thomas Cranmer, is this 17th century figure whose trial was actually in the University Church in Oxford. So we were literally upstairs from where his trial took place 400 years earlier. Just a kind of a rich place to do study. You can also see some PLU students have joined the rowing team, have joined music ensembles, have joined Frisbee and soccer teams in Oxford. It is obviously a place of incredible scholarly resources. The picture on the bottom right is from the Bodleian Library, which is an extensive repository of basically any book you could ever want. So it is kind of a magical place, and it's a real privilege for PLU students to be able to engage in a semester studying away at Oxford, and it is very much designed with IHON students in mind. So that's I think one of the draws of our program. Another possibility that is available to IHON students is living in a residential community that is devoted to global studies and in some cases language immersion. We have one of our residence halls on campus, Kreidler, where students who are interested in global education or in a foreign language or who are IHON students can choose to live. It's by no means required, but it is an opportunity to be in a residential community with other students who are interested in international or global affairs. This is kind of the end of my formal presentation, and I will leave this slide up for a few minutes as we get started on the Q&A, but I just wanted to close by emphasizing you can apply to IHON regardless of your high school background. And in fact, we really value the presence of a diverse set of voices in the classroom. And so we want you, if this program sounds interesting to you, we want to see your application. I am certainly very available if you want to reach out to me via email. You can see my email on the screen. I'm happy to meet with folks. If you're visiting campus, just drop me a line. I can talk to you more about the IHON program. I'll be at most of the admitted student days later this spring. So just really encourage you to consider. I think it's a rich program that our students get a lot out of. So that's where I will finish my formal remarks. I am going to stop sharing my screen so we can see each other. Well, I can see the other panelists at least and see what kind of questions we have.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think that is a really great point at the very end, that you are a resource not just for current students here at PLU, Seth, but also for these prospective students who are really curious about IHON, that even before you get through the doors here at PLU, please utilize him as somebody where those remaining questions or curiosities you have after this webinar, please come for an admitted student day and get to meet each other in person, but also contact via email and such. Thank you for that. With the call to apply, I was wondering if you could share a little bit for those who might be on the fence of, I don't know if I want to apply, I'm trying to figure it out. If there's a student who is thinking about maybe coming to PLU and applying as a current student, would you encourage a student to apply before they come to PLU, or is there an opportunity to be able to join IHON once they have started as a current student?
Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have an on-ramp for current students. So if you're interested in IHON, apply with your kind of PLU application. What we typically advise students who are kind of on the fence is, you can apply if you're accepted to the program. You can see what it's all about in the fall first year seminar. It's called IHON 111. And most of our students have a great experience in that class and really value it. If for some reason IHON turns out not to be for you, there are kind of, it's easy enough to transfer out of the program, but we don't unfortunately have a kind of a way to get into the program because so much of it happens in the first year, particularly now that we're offering a class in the January term. You can, in fact, finish about half of the IHON curriculum in your first year. And so if you're on the fence, let this be kind of a nudge to go ahead and apply. And if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, then we can, that's an issue that we can deal with once you're at PLU.
Absolutely. Give it a try. I see a number of students in the Q&A section are interested in hearing, how does IHON work for Running Start students?
So we do have a number of Running Start students in the program, and they're there because they value the experience, and it really is a kind of an important part of their student experience. Typically, Running Start students bring a number of credits, some of which satisfy general education requirements at PLU. And in that sense, you might think, well, if I don't have to do gen ed, then, is IHON going to be kind of a backtrack? And in most cases, we don't have a sort of a direct transfer agreement with Running Start for IHON in particular. But if you enroll in the IHON program and you want to stay in it, typically, because it's a smaller cohort, I sit down and meet with Running Start students to do some academic advising, to look at their class plans and see if we can figure out ways that IHON can work for Running Start students. And so my encouragement again is same as I just said, is if you're curious, if the program sounds like a rich one to you, give it a try. It can be a rich experience alongside your major. And in most cases, it will not kind of delay time to graduation. In the event that it does, we can look at, alternative possibilities, because we certainly don't want to delay time to graduation. But I think the student experience in IHON is generally pretty high. And so that's why, we try to make it work for everybody who's interested.
Thank you. Madeline and Jeremiah, as current students, would you be able to share with me, what has your favorite IHON course been so far? I know you aren't an upperclassman yet, but so far, what has been your favorite part or class so far in the program?
I'll just interject. They both took my January class. You don't have to answer that. So please don't let this be any undue pressure.
I guess I can go first, which it's unfortunate that you said that, Professor Dallin, because my favorite course was IHON 257, which was our J-term course. I I really like that course. You read just such a wide variety of texts. Like we read things like the Popol Vuh, which are like ancient stories, to like Genesis, and then to like things about like Martin Luther King and Gandhi. So just like the scope of text that we read was really incredible. And the discussions we had in class were very stimulating. Like I did a lot of inner reflection about my own values, and to see how those changed or solidified over the course of such a short period of time was really, really cool. So I just really valued that as like a personal experience, even though it was for a class and for credits. So I really, really enjoyed that class.
Yeah, so also I was probably gonna say IHON 257 as well, the J-term one. It was really fun. It was all the reasons Madeline said. So I'll just say my 111 class, the very first IHON class I took with Professor Palarum, and I just found so much value in being able to correlate, ancient, because in 111 we talk about very old texts, to see how they translate to my life and the modern world was super cool. And again, looking at those ancient texts and seeing how people interpreted like creation or the world around them, and being able to look at how that changed me, I think that was really transformative.
Thank you both so much. And with your favorite classes so far, can you kind of share what has that community experience been so far for you? Being in a cohort kind of structure, what has that meant for you as a student? But also, Professor Dallin, how has that shown up in the courses that you've taught so far in IHON?
I guess I'll go first because I went last. I think that like kind of cohort community like vibe really made things more comfortable. I mean, now I'm in IHON 112, and seeing a lot of people that I had in my first my fall semester class was really welcoming and kind of calming. And then even in the January term, the class was a little bigger, but I still found a lot of value in seeing people I knew and then allowing my bubble to grow and to include other people. I think that that community, you get kind of like wrapped into it really quickly, and you're really encouraged to be, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say forced because that sounds bad, but you're kind of forced to be comfortable because you have such great people around you.
Yeah, and when we're in these classes where you're talking a lot, like the majority of the class is just conversations with one another. And being with people that you've had classes with previously makes that a lot easier, and you feel like you can build those connections a lot easier because we talk about such like personal things in these classes. So I'd say just being in a cohort, like you get to know people really quickly and it makes it seem a lot easier. Like I think that was something I was worried about when I first joined IHON was like, oh, I don't want to talk in class, like I don't know these people. But you get over very quickly when you're in a class with these people multiple times in a year for multiple times a week. So.
I would say, first of all, I wanted to say briefly, like the January class was a little bit bigger, and yet IHON courses, you'll never have an IHON course with more than 22. That's the max that we allow. So these are smaller classes than most general education classes. It's necessary for a discussion-based class. When I've taught at the 200 level in IHON, one of the interesting things for me is as a professor, I often will come in when I'm teaching in the regular gen ed class program as a religion professor. I feel like it's sort of my responsibility in the regular gen ed classroom to create a classroom community and to really build that in the first weeks of the semester. That's important to me. One of the things I found the first time I taught in IHON, which has been, gosh, 10 or 11 years ago, was that when I came in at the 200 level, my students already had community with one another. And I had to sort of catch up to that. And it was a kind of a new problem for me because they already knew each other and I had to kind of learn about them and figure out their own rhythms because of the cohort model of IHON. And that relational piece, I think, is big for learning. I think it does promote deeper engagement. Madeline, you were just saying the sort of familiarity you develop allows you to enter into deeper conversations. And I think that's a real value of our program.
Thank you so much, your three. And with the community environment and the academic environment, we've kind of shared how having a small kind of seminar based discussion environment really shows up in an educational experience. Can you kind of share what an average class might look like day to day?
I guess I can talk about this if no one else wants to.
Yeah, Madeline, you go first.
So pretty much you get a set of reading, and you'll read the assigned pages usually the night before, or sometimes we do it in class. And you come to class and you sit and you talk to each other, and that's the class. Like, we'll look at the text, and usually we're talking. I kind of think of it as like a philosophy class, even though it's not. You're looking at the text and you're thinking of like human questions or human problems that the authors explore throughout the text, and then how those relate to our day-to-day and our personal experiences. So it's a lot of discussion. We have a little bit of writing, but that's maybe once a week. So pretty much just a lot of talking, some reading here and there. Yeah.
One of the things that we give to first year IHON students is a massive document called Guidelines for Conversation. And it's an overwhelming document, but we return to it throughout the year because we do think that these are skills you can get better at: reading, talking to one another, writing for sure. These are things that with practice you can get better at. And just like, you know, an athlete or a musician has to practice, as a scholar, you have to practice these arts of reading and engaging with other people about your reading. And so I think, particularly in the first year of IHON, students develop skills that serve them well in their other classes, and kind of learn how to participate in academic conversations in more sophisticated ways because we do have these guidelines. So in one sense, it's very open-ended, like Madeline says. We don't give first-year IHON students reading questions. There's no, here's what you're supposed to get out of the text. We want to see what students are interested in, but we do try to scaffold guidelines so that students understand here's how to do this work. Not necessarily what you're supposed to think about the text, but how to kind of approach the craft of reading and conversation and writing.
Continuing on with that, with what you've shared, Madeline, and you, Professor Dowland, how do you feel like IHON, the experience you've had so far, how has that changed what you've gotten out of this compared to the other classes you have? Sounds like you've really been able to prepare for how to discuss and prepare with how to come with things you're wanting to participate and engage. But how does this show up differently in IHON where you're not getting in other classes that you're doing here at PLU? Madeline and then Jeremiah.
I think just there's a certain kind of like unstructured nature to IHON that I think is really special. I think in your other classes, there's a lot of pressure to score well on tests and make sure you're studying a lot and, you know, writing exactly what the professor expects you to write. And that's really not the case in IHON. You have all the freedom you want to, or not all the freedom you want, but you have a lot of freedom to, you know, think what you want and express your ideas how you want, but also you have the space to learn and grow how to do that, like what Professor Dallin was saying. So it's not like rigid, like here's a grading scale that you need to adhere to. There's so much space to learn and grow, not only as an academic, but also as a person, like as your personal values, which I think is really special.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. And I guess just building off of that personal bit is really, really big, because I think in a lot of my other classes, there have been moments where it's like it's transformative and great. But in IHON, I feel like that happens much more, and that the unstructured nature, and you get people that agree with you and people that see some other perspective that you may not have noticed. And not only do you grow by accepting those and understanding that those people are just as valid as you are, but also you find things in these texts that open your eyes to ways you view the world that you might not have noticed before.
Thank you for that insight too. Professor Dowland, I see a number of students are curious about the workload of this program. A number of them thinking about maybe being athletes or maybe doubling or even trying to do a triple major. For those students who are knowing that they're going to have a little bit busier of a schedule, how does IHON allow or not allow for those types of students to participate in the program?
Yeah. So I saw the question about athletes. I don't know the exact percentages, but I do think our IHON population is close to the typical PLU population in terms of the number of student athletes in the program. We have a number of student athletes, lots of student musicians who are also quite busy at PLU. And so you can do IHON alongside those. Workload, I think, and Madeline and Jeremiah can correct me if I'm overstepping here. I think IHON courses don't presume a lot more work outside of class than other classes do. In fact, I think we do a lot of the work in the classroom. Now, when you step in an IHON classroom, the expectations are that you're going to be part of the conversation, and that can be intimidating at first, but I do think we try to set up the classroom space such that everybody feels empowered and able to step into the conversation. And so we want you to be fully present. Our classrooms in the first year are screen free, and it's very old school. We have paper readers, but we do that because we want everybody to be present with one another. And I think students get a lot out of that, and that's part of the reason the conversations are so strong, is because we do lay so much emphasis on that. But I don't think the workload itself is enormous outside of class. What I think some people are asking about in the chat is, can I fit the IHON course load alongside double and triple majors? We've had actually, I can think of several off the top of my head, triple majors graduate who've done IHON. There are waivers available for some of our classes if you study away or if you come in with significant numbers of IB or AP credits. We can waive some 200 level IHON courses. And so we do look for solutions that allow students who want to be part of the program to participate in the program. So, again, it's a question. If the program sounds interesting, compelling, then I would encourage you to pursue it. And if it turns out that we can't make IHON work alongside your degree plan, it's not a big deal to transfer out. But I think it's a rich program, and so a lot of students do. Maybe it's not prioritized over a major, but it's something they want to participate in. And so we figure out ways to make it work alongside busy schedules.
Thank you for sharing that. Jeremiah, I know that you are living in Kreidler currently, in the Living Learning community that is designated for international honors students who want to opt into that living experience here on campus. I would love for you to share a little bit about what your experience has been so far in that Living Learning community.
It's been great. I mean, I spent my fall semester in Hinderley with the Community for Creative Expression, and then I moved over here, and already I feel much more connected to IHON. But my peers, one of my greatest friends that I made in IHON, Claire, lives like right behind that wall right there, and it's been great. I mean, like, we've talked about reading. We've walked in the hallway, like crossing paths, and just started talking about IHON, and then we can hold each other accountable for class or for readings. And I think just having a hall, because it's not just first year students either. I've seen people who are second, third in their last year at PLU who have done IHON for years. And I think it's really awesome, like just being connected to, I think it makes the dialogue more personal in class too, because it doesn't make it feel like, oh, we're only talking about this because it's in class. We talk about it in class, but I've had conversations like with Claire, like after we get out of IHON, we just walk and talk the entire way back to this hall because we have a riveting discussion.
I think that's some really great insight, and to be able to have kind of that cross-pollination of community within your grades that are living in the IHON community. But I also think that in general, that is a really great asset that this IHON community brings, that, as you've all shared before, the classes that you're a part of and the cohorts that you're in, students from all across campus are going to be joining you. And I think that's a really wonderful way to be able to create bonds and community with people that you otherwise might not really have similar circles in different ways. And IHON can be a really great way to bring that together for you. Dr. Dowland, I was wondering if you could share, I know in the beginning of your presentation, you shared how IHON covers the majority of general education requirements. What are those gen ed requirements that are not covered through IHON?
Yeah. So we ask students in their first year to take a course called FYEP 101, which is an introduction to academic writing. IHON students still have to take the an FYEP 101 seminar, as well as courses in science and in math, which are not as, we do have some IHON courses that are taught by scientists, but not as many as are taught by scholars in the humanities and social sciences. So we have IHON requirement. IHON students still have to take courses in what we call the natural world and in quantitative reasoning, um, as well as fitness and wellness course. And then all PLU students have to do a capstone in their major. So that is another general education requirement that IHON students must participate in a capstone, a senior. It's usually a senior thesis of sorts or some kind of culminating experience in their major. So there are a few general education requirements outside of IHON that IHON students still take, but the majority of the majority of the general education requirements IHON students are exempt from.
Thank you. Another question for you.
Mhm.
I know, as we've shared before, it's kind of great to be able to be in community with people kind of across campus. When it comes to the instructors of these courses, can you share a little bit of where the professors who are teaching IHON courses are coming from across campus, and who do these prospective students get to have the joy of getting to learn from?
Well, it's a great group of faculty who are intensely committed to thinking about good teaching. You can see on our website the different faculty who teach in the program. We have a few core faculty who teach about half of the IHON courses, so their entire teaching load is IHON, and these are scholars who were trained in English in one case and in Germanic studies in another case, but who are really committed to interdisciplinary inquiry and really they're kind of the backbone of our faculty. And then we have faculty affiliates who are in different departments across campus. So Jeremiah had mentioned Professor Palerm, who teaches in Hispanic Studies. We have scholars in the arts, a scholar, an art historian. We have a scholar of French. We have a biologist, a physicist, a sociologist is going to be teaching in the program. So we have faculty from a variety of departments who teach. What I think draws us to the honors program are, well, great students for one, like Madeline and Jeremiah, but really I think a commitment to a particular form of teaching, an open-ended, discussion-based. Some of you may be familiar with the notion of Socratic pedagogy, where we continually kind of press students with additional questions. I think that's really what draws us. And I had a meeting with the IHON faculty last fall after one of our colloquium, which are these evening events. We have a couple each semester for first-year students. And I went to this meeting with other IHON faculty, and the whole conversation revolved around what was happening in our first year courses, how we could improve those courses for student experience. It's a real kind of a rich community of scholars who I think are interested in designing courses that kind of draw out these conversations you've heard so much about. And so I think it's a great group of faculty that IHON students get to learn from and alongside.
Absolutely. I think so. I have a twin brother, number of friends, and lots of students who have been and were a part of the IHON program. And I feel like that is something that I continuously hear about their perspective of why they love the IHON program so much are the professors, that they are so deeply passionate about what they are teaching, and the students that they are learning alongside with. And I think that Socratic style of learning really does allow for that exchange of knowledge, not just from student to student, but also professor to student and vice versa as well. I think that's really special for sure. Something that I also think is really cool about the IHON program, in conjunction with the Oxford program that IHON offers, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience about this, Professor Dowland, as a professor who has taught at Oxford, is the ability to have that continued globalized educational experience that you are as a student in the IHON program, if you choose to apply and then go to Oxford, that you're having that accompaniment of a professor from PLU join you. So before or even after your time in Oxford, you get to have the benefit of taking classes from that professor once you get back here as well, or beforehand. And what has that experience been like for you as a professor who has done the Oxford program?
Well, it's a gift for sure to get to go to this incredible city and incredible university. Oxford is a a place that seems to sort of inspire scholarship. I think it is a kind of a place that you realize how many incredible thinkers have kind of walked these same streets, and so that's a really cool piece, just as a scholar myself, to be able to go to Oxford and to spend time with PLU students there was an incredible gift. We, one of the things that I think is neat about our program is that our students are there with a PLU faculty member as you're kind of getting acclimated to Oxford. You're taking a course that is similar to the types of courses you might have taken at PLU, although very much place-based, focused on the history of Oxford or the UK, using the sites in Oxford and surrounding areas as part of the course. But then as you move forward in your time, you're doing one-on-one tutorials with Oxford-based scholars in your field of study. These can be, I think, incredibly rich learning opportunities for our students to get to study in a one-on-one basis in their major field of study with an expert in Oxford. Students, I think, approach their first tutorial experience, these one-on-one classes, with some trepidation, that they can be a sort of intimidating moment at first. But a lot of our students come back, I think, with an incredibly developed sense of confidence in their own kind of academic ability. And so when our Oxford students return to campus, I mean, they just thrive. It's just an incredibly rewarding academic experience, as well as just a personal one, because it's a pretty amazing place to get to live for 4 or 5 months.
That makes me excited, and I'm not even the one going to Oxford to do that program. I think that's such an incredible experience students get to have.
Yeah.
I'm keeping track of time. And as we are wrapping up, my last question for the three of you, I know you answered in the beginning, but if you wanted to share anything differently, why IHON, and then why PLU for you? Jeremiah, would you like to start first?
Yeah. So for why IHON, I think that one of the most important things someone can do is understand that the more they learn, the less they know, and to be happy with that. I think that that's a aspiration that people should have, is to always just want to learn more, whether that be about other people, other cultures, themselves, which is really big. So I think IHON, I think like learning about it before I came here was like the tiniest like peep into what it is, and then now being a part of it, seeing how transformative, like I know I've said the word transformative a lot, but that is how I would describe it, is it shapes you, I think. And then for PLU, honestly, and this isn't me like trying to make IHON sound amazing, but IHON is part of it. I think IHON was a really big part of why I chose PLU, because learning more about people and yourself is one of the biggest things at PLU, and is of course a great thing in IHON. So that curiosity, I think, is why for both.
Yeah. I mean, I think going off what Jeremiah said about IHON, I think just the vastness of things that you get to learn in IHON, I think, is kind of what drew me to the program. Just like being able to explore all these different kinds of texts and have so much freedom with them, but also to interact with people in a way that's not very typical in class, I think was very interesting to me. And it continues to be a reason why I love IHON so much, is just getting to talk to people, I think, is a really fun way to learn. As for PLU, I think the community here is really special. You feel really cared for just in the little things that you do. Like I think I came here for a scholarship event sometime in February before I made my decision, and they handed out cookies after our scholarship interviews, which I think is like it's just those little things that make you feel just appreciated and really cared for. So that's my YPLU speech.
Great. So one of the things that you've heard in our conversations about IHON is that there is this incredible diversity of things we read in IHON courses, you know, from ancient creation stories all the way up to kind of 20th century figures like Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Obviously, no faculty member can be an expert in all the different things we read, and that actually is a real, it's both a challenge and a gift to me as a faculty member, because I enter these class, and Jeremiah and Madeline heard me say this on the first day of our January class. I enter the classroom without, you know, tons of expertise on all the different things we're going to read. And so I'm entering as a learner, as well as a teacher, as somebody who's going to facilitate discussion. And that, I mean, it keeps me on my toes, but it also is an incredible gift to have something so invigorating and challenging, to be there alongside my students, grappling with the human questions in these texts. I mean, I love teaching about religion, but I have classes in religion that I could kind of do in my sleep at this point in my career. IHON classes are never like that. They are an incredible, both a challenge and a gift that kind of keeps me fresh in a way. And so I really love teaching in the program, and I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you three so much. You all really hit the nail on the head, bringing us around back home to end this out and everything. I know a lot of that resonated with me, and I'm sure it resonated with a lot of those folks listening in the audience and watching on YouTube once this is uploaded for that. Thank you all again for joining us today. As Professor Dowland mentioned before, please reach out to him if you have further questions about IHON. Expert is right there. And please, please, please register and sign up and show up for an admitted student day. We would love to host you on campus and get to meet you in person. And of course, connect with your admission counselors. We are here to help you every step along the way. But thank you all again for joining us. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you all soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.